Imagine this: you've just started talking to a woman you like. She seems into you, quick replies, playful banter, maybe even a compliment or two. Your heart races every time her name lights up your phone, but then it happens. You send a little more than she does. You double text when she hasn't replied yet. You tell yourself it's fine. You're just being open, showing effort. A day later, her replies slow down. 2 days later, her energy is gone. A week later, she's cold, distant, or worse, gone entirely. And you sit there staring at the screen, asking yourself the same question every man has whispered in frustration: what did I do wrong? Here's the brutal truth most men don't want to hear: you smothered the fire. Overtexting is not effort, it's exposure. You ripped away the mystery before she even got to miss you. You gave her no space to wonder where you were, no time to feel the tension of waiting, no silence to fill with her own imagination. Women don't lose interest because you weren't nice enough. They lose interest because you were too available, too predictable, too loud with your need for her attention. Think about it. Every time you shoot off another message, you're not just communicating, you're begging. You're begging for validation, for her response, for her time. And she feels it. She feels that weight pressing down on her, and it doesn't excite her. It drains her. Attraction thrives in space, in tension, in the unknown. When you erase all of that by flooding her phone with words, you take away the very oxygen that keeps attraction alive. Some women won't tell you this. They'll just go quiet. They'll say, "I've been busy," or "Sorry, I forgot to reply." But what they really mean is, "You've made it too easy for me to lose respect for you." And here's where the psychological trap kicks in. You sense her pulling back. So what do? You text more. You try harder. You send another "Hey," or "How's your day?" And every extra drop of effort only confirms what she already suspects, that she's the prize and you're chasing. Let me flip it for you. Imagine a woman you like sends you 3, 4, 5 messages in a row while you're at work. You haven't replied yet, but your phone keeps buzzing. At first, it feels flattering, then it feels clingy, then it feels heavy. The more she gives without waiting for your energy to meet hers, the less you value it. That's exactly how women feel when you overtext. The strategy is simple, but it requires discipline. You need to stop chasing every notification like a starving dog. You need to learn the power of silence. You need to let her texts breathe. If she sends one, don't match it with 3. If she takes hours to reply, don't respond in seconds. You're not punishing her, you're recentering yourself. Every message you send should be deliberate, not desperate. And this is where mystery comes in. Mystery isn't about playing fake games. It's about having a life that actually pulls you away from your phone. If she knows you're constantly waiting to reply, you've already lost. But if she senses that you're busy, focused, moving through your day with purpose, then your silence becomes magnetic. She starts to wonder where you are, who you're with, why you're not rushing to her. That wondering is what fuels attraction. Here's a practical tactic before you reply. Ask yourself, am I sending this because I have something to say, or because I want attention if it's the second? Put your phone down. Wait. Let the tension build, because tension is the currency of desire. When you master it, women chase you. When you kill it, women ghost you. It's not just about texting either. Over-communicating in any form. Long calls, constant updates, endless validation, all of it suffocates attraction. You're not building closeness, you're destroying polarity. Mystery is what makes her think about you when you're not there. Mystery is what makes her reread your last text. Mystery is what keeps her invested. And mystery only exists when you learn to hold back. I'll leave you with this. Women don't fall for the man who gives them everything up front. They fall for the man who makes them wonder what's next. They fall for the man who knows when to stay silent, They fall for the man whose life is so full that she has to earn her way into it. That's the man she respects. That's the man she desires. Have you ever recognized yourself in this exact situation? What happened when you realized she was pulling away? Which one do you struggle with? More texting too much? Or holding back long enough to let her come to you? Be honest in the comments. You've probably felt it before, that gnawing impatience when she hasn't replied. You stare at your phone, checking if the message was delivered, if she's been online, if maybe she saw it but didn't care enough to answer. The silence eats at you, so you do what feels natural in the moment you send another message. Something light, harmless, just to nudge her. Maybe a meme, maybe a hey, you there. And in your mind, it feels like you're closing the gap. But in her mind, you're confirming exactly what she suspected you're chasing, and she's already in control. This is the hidden game. Women use silence as a weapon, sometimes consciously, sometimes not. But the effect is the same. They know attention is currency, and they know men crack under withdrawal. When she pulls back, it's not always rejection, sometimes it's a test. She wants to see if you collapse into panic and flood her inbox, or if you stay grounded, unfazed, unbothered. The second man passes. The first man loses her respect. And here's where most men fail. They confuse investment with interest. You think that if you just show her how much you care, she'll care back. But attention given too early doesn't breed attraction, it breeds contempt. She hasn't earned your constant energy yet. And when you give it away freely, it tells her something dangerous, that your time, your focus, your attention, the most valuable things a man has, are cheap. Think about the men women chase. They're not the ones sending 5 texts before lunch. They're not the ones refreshing their DMs. They're the ones who disappear for hours because they're buried in their mission, their work, their life. When they respond, it feels intentional, chosen, deliberate, and because of that, their words weigh more. A single message from a man with options feels heavier than 10 messages from a man with none. So here's the tactical shift you need to make. Stop rewarding her with constant access. If she pulls back, don't chase mirror. If she takes 5 hours to reply, take 5 hours back. Not to play petty games, but to balance the scale. This forces her to feel what you've been feeling. It puts her in the position of wondering, waiting, questioning, and that shift in dynamic is what keeps her engaged. You also need to build real discipline with your phone. Every time you feel the urge to check if she's replied, stop and ask yourself, what am I neglecting right now just to stare at this screen? That workout you skipped, that project you delayed, that silence you could have used to sharpen your mind, all of that is the price you pay when you drown in her digital presence. Women don't want a man whose world revolves around them. They want a man whose world they have to fight to enter. Let's make it even sharper. Imagine you're at a bar, you're talking to her, and every 30 seconds you poke her arm just to remind her you're there. At first, she smiles. Then she gets irritated. Then she pulls away. Overtexting is the digital version of that. Mystery is when you stop poking and let her feel your absence, because absence is powerful. Absence makes her ask questions. Where is he? What's he doing? Why hasn't he reached out? And those questions breed curiosity, which fuels attraction. Now, don't mistake silence for neglect. If you go completely dead for days on end, she'll assume you've lost interest. Mystery isn't about being unavailable forever. It's about being selectively available. When you respond, make it count. When you share, let it be something that deepens the intrigue, not flattens it. And above all, make sure your silence is backed by a life that's actually full, not empty. Because women can smell the difference between a man who's busy and a man who's just pretending to be. Here's the field application. Set yourself a hard rule. Never send 2 messages in a row unless she's already matched your energy. If she takes a day, you take a day. If she invests effort, you meet it, not exceed it. And if she doesn't invest at all, you stop cold. Because a woman who gives nothing has already shown you her answer, and no amount of words will change it. Have you ever been caught in that spiral of double texting, then triple texting, and instantly regretting it afterward? Do you notice how her energy shifts the second you overgive? And more importantly, what's your plan the next time silence creeps in? Will you chase it, or will you let her sit with it? Here's what most men never realize until it's too late. Attraction dies not in a moment, but in a slow leak. Every extra word, every unnecessary check-in, every just making sure you saw this message pokes a hole in the balloon. By the time you feel her drifting away, it's not one big mistake that killed it. It's death by 1,000 little over-investments. You might think you're just showing consistency. You might think, I'm different because I care, and she'll see that. But women don't value effort when it comes without scarcity. They value energy they had to earn. If you hand over your attention like candy at Halloween, don't be surprised when she treats it like cheap sugar fun for a moment, disposable the next. The psychology behind this is brutally simple. Human beings, not just women, value what they have to work for. When something is freely available, the mind assigns it less weight. And in dating, where emotions and ego run the show, this effect multiplies. A man who doesn't guard his attention is signaling that it isn't worth much. And women, consciously or not, mirror that perception. Now let's talk about the internal cost. Every time you overtext, you're training your nervous system to be dependent on her replies. That buzzing anticipation you feel, that's not love. That's addiction. Your dopamine spikes when she answers and crashes when she doesn't. And just like any addiction, you start needing more and more to feel okay. That's why you text more, push harder, check her socials, analyze her silence. You've given away your emotional balance to a woman who hasn't even proven she deserves it. And this is the real trap once you hand her that power. She doesn't even need to do anything. She can control you simply by withholding. The less she gives, the more you scramble. The quieter she gets, the louder you become. Suddenly, you're no longer the man she was curious about. You're the man dancing for crumbs. That dynamic kills attraction faster than anything else. So how do you shift it? The answer isn't to play childish games. The answer is to reclaim your frame. Instead of obsessing over how often she responds, you need to ask, am I leading my life in a way that makes her response just a bonus, not my lifeline? When your mission, your training, your growth, your work, your purpose fill your day, her silence doesn't sting the same way. You have too much going on to chase down empty replies. Here's a direct tactic every time you feel that urge to send a second or third text. Stop and move your body. Go lift, go run, go get into something physical that reminds you that your life is bigger than her. Train yourself to link silence with productivity, not panic. Because when you stop feeding the addiction, you start starving her power over you. And here's the paradox when you pull back. She notices. When you stop filling the silence, she starts to feel it. She begins to wonder, why isn't he chasing me? Did his attention shift? Did I lose my hold on him? That wondering creates the exact pressure you were drowning under. Only this time, the roles are reversed. Now she's the one thinking, replaying, reaching. But remember, this works only if it's real. If your entire life is just waiting for her to text, she'll sense it. Women are masters at reading emotional energy. They can feel whether you're genuinely detached or just pretending to be. That's why the work has to go deeper than just slowing down texts. You need to actually live in a way where her presence is an addition, not the center. So start today. Don't just resist the urge to overtext. Replace it with something that builds you. Put the phone down and put your hands on a book, a weight, a project, a skill. Every hour you invest in yourself makes you more magnetic. Every hour you spend chasing her makes you more replaceable. Have you ever looked back at an old conversation and cringed at how many times you reached out without her matching your energy? Do you realize now how much that tilted the scale against you? And the next time you feel the itch to overtext, what will you do differently to keep your frame intact? Here's the part that cuts the deepest. Overtexting is not just a bad habit, it's a declaration of weakness. Every message you send that she hasn't earned is you subconsciously admitting you're afraid to lose her. And women can smell that fear. They don't respect it. They don't admire it. They recoil from it. Because what she wants isn't a man who clings. What she wants is a man she has to reach for. Think back to the women who once chased you. It wasn't when you were bending over backwards to keep their interest. It was when you were slightly out of reach, focused, mysterious, unpredictable. It was when she didn't know exactly what you were doing, and it drove her crazy trying to figure it out. That's the spark that keeps women hooked, the chase of your attention, not the drowning in it. But here's what happens to so many men. You meet her, you like her, you start texting a lot. At first, she responds, then she slows down, you panic, you compensate with more energy, more effort, more attention, and in that overcorrection, you become invisible. Not because she can't see you, but because you've made yourself too obvious. There's no tension left, no curiosity, no polarity. Understand this attraction is not built on comfort, it's built on uncertainty. She needs to feel slightly unsteady around you, slightly unsure, slightly pulled into your orbit. Overtexting kills all of that. It reassures her too much. It tells her, I'm here whenever you want, no matter what you do. And the moment she knows she can have you fully, without effort, she starts asking herself why she should even want you at all. So what's the antidote? It's restraint. Controlled, intentional restraint. When she texts, don't always reply instantly, not to play games, but because you actually have things to do. When you want to share something, ask yourself if it adds value or if it's just filling space. And when she pulls away, you don't chase, you wait. You let the silence breathe. You let her curiosity grow. Let's make it tactical. If you're in that early stage of talking to a woman, set a mental limit, one message for every message she sends. That's balance. If she gives 2, you give 2. If she gives none, you give none. This isn't about rules for the sake of rules. It's about protecting your energy. Because if you don't value your attention, she won't either. Another tactic when you feel that urge to over-explain or send another text. Sit on it for an hour. Ask yourself, would this message still matter if I sent it later? 9 times out of 10. The answer is no. What felt urgent in the moment was just your anxiety talking. By waiting, you starve that anxiety and show yourself that silence isn't deadly, it's powerful. And here's the hidden benefit. When you stop over-texting, when you master the art of mystery, something shifts inside you. You stop needing her to validate your worth. You stop tying your mood to her replies. You become calmer, steadier, more grounded. And that's when you become magnetic. Women chase that calm. They crave the man who doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't scramble for attention. She'll notice, trust me, she'll test with silence. And when you don't break, she'll lean in. She'll start texting first. She'll send double texts. She'll try to pull you in, and when that happens, you'll know you've flipped the script. You're no longer the one trying to earn her. She's trying to earn you. That's the shift that changes everything. So, let me ask you directly, how many times have you blown your shot because you couldn't sit with the silence? Do you see now that every overtext wasn't harmless? It was a withdrawal from her respect account. And if you could go back and redo one of those moments, what would you hold back instead of giving away? Here's where it all comes together. The reason overtexting destroys attraction isn't just because it looks needy, it's because it exposes your lack of control. Women don't lose interest randomly. They lose interest when they realize you can't control yourself, your emotions, or your attention. Every text you send in panic is a confession: I don't trust myself to be silent. I don't trust my life to be enough. I don't trust that she'll think of me unless I remind her. And the moment she senses that lack of control, her desire begins to die. Control is everything in modern dating. Not control over her, control over you. Control over when you reach out, how much you give, how much you reveal. Control over your frame when she tests you with silence, with delay, with withdrawal. Because make no mistake, these are tests. Sometimes conscious, sometimes instinctive. But women test men not by what they say, but by how they act when tension rises. Picture this: she goes quiet for a day. Your chest tightens, your mind races. A weaker man caves, sends 3 messages, stalks her social media, spirals into paranoia. A stronger man leans back. He feels the silence, but he doesn't react. He lets her absence create its own weight. And when she finally reaches out, she's the one chasing again. That's the difference. One man breaks himself to hold on to her. The other holds himself together and makes her hold on to him. And here's the ugly truth: women don't respect men who can't sit in discomfort. They might tolerate them, use them, string them along, but they don't crave them. They crave the man who can stay still while she pulls away. The man who can keep his mystery, his restraint, his dignity intact. Because that man communicates something wordless but powerful: I don't need you to feel whole. You need me. So how do you get there? You stop living in reaction. You stop letting her actions dictate your value. You stop pouring words into the void hoping it'll fill you up. Instead, you build a life so solid that her silence doesn't shake it. You train your discipline like a muscle. You let unanswered messages sit while you train, work, create, move. Every hour you choose yourself over chasing her is an hour you grow stronger. There's one last tactic I'll give you, and it's deceptively simple when you want to text her. Text yourself. Write down the message you were going to send. Look at it. Ask yourself if it's worthy of a man who values his attention. Most of the time, you'll delete it, and in that deletion, you'll feel a rush of power, because power isn't in what you say. It's in what you withhold. This is the final shift. Stop fearing her disinterest. Start fearing your own weakness, because the truth is, she can't actually take your power, only you can hand it away. Overtexting is you handing it over on a silver platter. Mystery is you locking it inside yourself, letting her earn each glimpse. That's the difference between being disposable and being unforgettable. So now it's your turn to face yourself. How many times have you lost control and handed away your power with words you didn't need to send? Can you admit that her silence only had power because you let it? And when the next woman tests you, will you be the man who cracks under pressure, or the man who holds the silence until she breaks instead? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.